Hey guys, it's Greg Jones for Engine Builder. Today we're in Mooresville, North Carolina, and I'm joined today by Matt Bieneman of MBE Cylinder Heads and Manifolds. And he's gonna, give us some of his time today and walk us through the shop. He's got some cool stuff in there, so follow us and we'll walk you around.
All right, thanks for joining us. Come on in.
All right guys, so we just walked through the front of the shop and now we're inside MBE. And Matt, just to tell the folks a little bit of background about yourself, I'm interested in knowing how you got into cylinder head work and manifold work and how MBE got started.
Okay, so I was fortunate, as a young kid, my dad had a Top Fuel car, so that's what we worked on at night and on all the weekends. But we grew up in the Detroit area near all the Pro Stock guys too, where the Sam Giannino, Booth and Aaron's, and a lot of those guys. So I had an interest in making power and being around it and going to all those shops as a little kid. It taught me that the cylinder head part was what Booth and Aaron's was working on and things when I was 7 years old, going in those shops. So I had a direct interest in that. That's why I went that route.
Very good.
And then, from there, worked for my dad, then worked for Sam Giannino doing the Pro Stock stuff, and went and worked for Coletta's on the Top Fuel stuff because that was a transition with what we did in the shop. And then went to Joe Gibbs, ran the cylinder head shop there for a few years, and then started this.
Okay.
And now this is it.
Yeah, and you were telling me it's been 22 years here with MBE. In total, how long have you been in the industry?
Oh, kind of all my life.
I
was fortunate. My dad was willing to teach me as a young kid. Where, I was working on the race car when I was 11 years old, 12 years old.
That's awesome.
Putting heads together when I was 12.
Yeah.
Things like that, and I've been very. And then, of course, all the wonderful people I've been able to work for. I've been very fortunate.
Sure,
to say
absolutely,
the least.
absolutely.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Very grateful.
It's brought you here, right?
Yeah, it's brought me here. It's nice. It's great. Yeah, it's fun, and this is nice because you can be creative. You're not stuck in an office or anything like that. And we put a lot of infrastructure in, so we can create our own products and not be held hostage. It's fun. With the 5-axis machines, we have a big horizontal machine to do all the billet stuff also. That's not in this facility, and then we do all the laser scanning in-house. We try to do as much as we can in-house.
Yeah.
We've learned, if anything we've learned over the years, that's what makes us better. Because nobody cares more than us, and meaning everybody that works here. So I think that's so important that we try to bring everything in-house we possibly can.
Yeah.
Of course, but we have vendors that we work with also, which we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that too.
Yeah. Matt, I'll let you direct where we go. We are right here by the CNCs, but obviously a bunch of cool product here behind us.
Yeah, so we got Scott's prepping a set of big 9s right here. So this would be op 1. So when these come in here, there's no spark plugs in them, there's no seat bores, guide bores, all kinds. None of that's done. We police all that here, and the reason why we do, it makes it better, and then we can police ourselves that way too.
Yeah.
Not only policing them, it polices us.
Yeah.
So this is op 1, and then from there, this will get seats and guides, and then we'll port it. So 5-axis CNC machine, this moves 90 degrees this way, this rotates, this Z moves up and down, and the head moves this way and that way. So all those 5 axes work at the same time, simultaneously.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So a head, when we start, if the porting itself for one of these cylinder heads is about, the whole program takes between 6 and 6.5 hours on a big block.
Okay.
Small block is anywhere for 4.5.
That's really not too bad.
Not too bad. Yeah, it's much better than than some of the other machines that are out there.
Sure.
But that's why we use it, and because it's heavy, rigid.
Yeah, and you
were keep tolerances.
You were telling me earlier this machine weighs 28,000 pounds.
Yeah, this one weighs 28. The other one's a little bit larger, it weighs 29,000. So it's not an $8,000 machine that you'll see a lot of the cylinder head companies using. We're not a production shop, but we still treat it that we are, like where we do try to buy the better tools, meaning the machines and things like that.
Sure.
This is more of a staging area right here. So these are big 9s ready to go. We private label a lot of our products also. We do that. Then we have the Hemis. We do this. This would be like for the Brad Anderson platform. That's what I would call it. But anyways, we do these for the truck pullers, all the pro mod guys, street outlaws. We got Damon Merchant running the street outlaws with this big 9. He's been runner up the last 2 races.
Yeah.
So that's been going good. And then we have a relationship with Brodex where we help them create product, and then they in turn help us with castings and things like that. So we have we basically have our own casting line. We have a whole MBE casting line that we do.
Yeah.
You know, we've quite a few different heads. We probably make 20 products out of all those castings.
Yeah. And Matt, you had a couple like raw heads here.
Yeah. So here's how something that comes in right there.
Yeah.
So typically they don't have spark plugs in them. So typically we put the spark plug in them. So no seat bores, guide bores, spring pockets, spark plugs like we said, and no rocker gear. So all that's blank on this side too. And then we do all of that because you can see a lot of our products, we had extra fasteners for the rockers because we learned that on the cup side. Luckily, I got to be part of that for a little while where the valve train was important. So, and we learned that fasteners help.
Yeah.
Anything we can do to stop deflection.
Yeah.
And then everything we do always takes, big push rods and things like that.
Now, do the Brad Anderson Hemi style stuff, does it come rough like that, or is that just a pure block of aluminum?
That's a pure block of aluminum. So this is actually a blank for it right there. You can say it says alcohol on it right there.
Yeah. So Matt, obviously you got a number of different heads here. How many different styles of heads, different product offerings on the head side?
So typically each cylinder head that we do, like a billet small block Chevy, there's approximately 3 programs for that.
Okay.
The Big 9 has approximately 4 programs, and all that, the evolution of that is dictated by the customer. If we don't have the product that fits the application, then a lot of the time we'll take on all the R&D and we'll do all of that, and then that just adds to our library that we can sell to everybody else. So
Gotcha.
typically, if you look at, let's say there's 30 or 40 different heads that we sell, we'll have typically 3 versions of all of those.
Okay.
Very common. Even the Brad Anderson platform does, because you have the NHRA legal stuff. So
yeah,
that's a different turbo version, different Pro Charger version, roots, and so on. So
okay.
And we have that
Very
too.
cool. Very cool.
This is a kind of the dirty room. So this is where we mock up the intake manifolds. So we pretty much have blocks of everything. What we do is this is kind of like I don't say it's a trick, but it might interest people. But what we do is we deck the block so at the shortest height we think we're going to get, and then from there we just shim everything up. So sometimes we have dowel pins that are very, very long. So here's some dowel pins right here.
Yeah.
But this way we can adjust the manifold for the different deck heights, because as the head goes this way, well, the manifold goes up typically 1-to-1, depending if the intake flange is at 90 degrees or not. So if we go from a 10.2 to a 10.6, then the manifold's going to have to add 400 thousandths to it too. It's basically 1-to-1 if that angle is 90.
Yeah.
So everything gets mocked up here, and then we just double check everything. We have like something right here where we welded the whole outside of the manifold up.
Yeah.
This is any of those. Let's say that's the small tire stuff and the no prep stuff. That stuff is definitely performance based. So we weld all of this up. So now we can get volume in it, so we can pull this back.
Yeah.
Plus, in this particular one, the tightest part of the port was right here. Well, that's the last place you want that. So this way it allowed us, when we put all this material here, we could take out another 1/4 inch there. So it had a continuous taper.
Got it.
That's all. We do all of that. Work with John at CID a lot on the cast manifolds. Besides the billet ones we do, we port a lot of his. He's somebody that does understand that the volumes need to be large and the plenum volumes need to be very big for the small block. Then we port all those.
Okay. And now, Matt, you got like a 2-piece manifold here, and you were talking about how the cylinder heads, lose roughly 80 pounds or so, 70 pounds. How many pounds off that 110 pound block of aluminum does the cylinder?
So these start off at like 96 pounds each half does.
Okay, yeah.
And this is 9 pounds when it's finished. So each half is 4.5.
That's crazy.
So it's 95 pounds of waste. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is crazy. It's a lot of chips in the barrels for sure, just to do one manifold.
For sure.
And then we'll show you back here in a little bit. We got another one that's much more waste.
Yeah.
So Bob is over here valve jobbing on the epochs. We do all the valve jobbing on the epoch. And you can see it's a single point cutter. So there's no deflection in the tooling. And then we pick the insert for the different seat materials. If it's copper beryllium, mold star, brass, steel, stellite, whatever it is, this way we can we just change the insert and then it machines like it's glass, like you would on a lathe.
Do you guys have a most common material that you use for a seat?
Typically, we put copper beryllium in everything, or mold star, but typically copper beryllium.
Yeah.
We're not a believer in the brass material. You see a lot of the brass out there. The reason why I think most people use it, because you go from an $18 seat, and then when you go to the copper beryllium, it's a $65 seat.
Sure.
So all of our products typically look like they're $800 to $900 more, and it's just in the seat material. The reason why that other seat, that the copper beryllium works so much better than the brass is the intake valves will last 5 to 10 times longer.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
That $900 is one set of valves.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer. So
Yeah.
that's why we offer that. It's not for everybody, but it is for, if you're coming here, it is for sure.
Yeah.
Because it'd be a lot of waste not to do that.
Yeah. And earlier you were singing the praises of the Newen machine here, just as a great way to do these, valve jobs and stuff. So.
Yeah. So some of the things you got, it's if you have a new guide and a new guide and your valve job in it, the seat concentration would be at 2/10. And it doesn't matter if you have a 2/600 valve or a 2/800 intake valve, it'll be at 2/10. As long as you have somebody that knows how to run it, like Bob, you have somebody like that, not a little kid, or then yeah, that's what you have.
Yeah.
But the other consistency of it is the seat angles and the bottom angles. And when you use some of the other tooling, when you use a form cutter, there's a lot of deflection in the tooling.
Right.
So your bottom angles might vary as much as 3 degrees, and then you have no idea why it doesn't flow what it should. But when you come here, that's why we can guarantee the flow numbers, is because we use good CNC machines. We CNC valve job on this because it is perfect.
Yeah.
We can go in half-degree increments if we want. We can, and we do. We have lengths that aren't 100 thousandths; they're 98 because we found 98 to be better.
Yeah.
And Bob does the majority of that R&D. So it takes all of us here. So it's nice to have somebody like him here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool.
It's just a 5-inch floor space project we're doing for Brodex. So they'll have their version, we'll have our version. This is their version right there, and then from there they're going to make a casting from this, and this will be available to everybody. So basically, we create the product for them, we give them something that they can sell, then we have something that we can sell that will be a little bit of an upgrade, and we just continue moving on.
Yeah, that's neat.
Because we're in the middle of building a new building, because we need like 3 times as much space. We do the laser scanning on here, so we actually had one of our friends make this, so we do all the laser scanning in-house. It's just another way of us policing everything. We were having issues with some of the scanning that we were getting back, and I just said, let's fix it. Let's just do it ourselves. We'll teach ourselves how to do it. And it's one of those things, kind of like the Epoch was, you don't realize how you're doing without it. That's what happens.
Right. It's kind of a game changer.
Oh my gosh, it's way better. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so much better.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is a lot of finished product in here. So we got Hogan's did a manifold for a power adder, so this will go on our Hemi stuff that we do. So this is a Pro Charger application here. We don't build these style of billet intakes, but something like this goes on our like a Big Chief style head, or Big 9 that we do.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, and compared to the one that we port, not only is it 17 pounds lighter, it's half the weight. It makes 60 more horsepower, and it takes 10 pins less jet to make that 60. So it's something like that will make, if it made the same power 10 pins jet, it would be worth 1/10 in the quarter mile. So because it'll accelerate that much better.
Yeah.
So we're doing more and more of this. We're very excited about it because I think it'll just put a level from us, is what the idea is.
Right.
To make people have to come.
Yeah, right.
Right. You try and do. And we make the valley
You'll
trays
get
and
beat
house
without it,
for it
right?
and all that. Well, we hope so, right? That's our job. Everything we do here is performance based. So if we don't perform, we don't put food on the table. So we have that. We have that issue too. And then the billet small block stuff here.
Yep.
The billet O-rings, and then we do a dovetail O-ring, meaning the way the dovetail works is the O-ring won't come out.
Okay.
We flip it over.
Yeah.
That's the billet stuff here. That small block K, we wear the Ford, and just a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of a. So then we design all the valves in house. So we do a specialty print on all the valves. So not every if a big 9 has nitrous on it, then that takes a different intake and exhaust valve. So we'll do the print completely different. If it's NA, then we do, or normally aspirated, then we do the print completely different again.
Yeah.
We can take more weight out of it, things like that. With the power adder, you know, it needs a 2-degree hub, it needs convexes, it needs things like that so the valve doesn't stretch under the heat. So yeah, we do everything's refined. Every little thing we try to refine.
Yeah. So Matt, with between the cylinder heads and the manifolds, you know, how many are you guys producing on a yearly basis?
I would say new sets. We're probably at about 180 sets. You know, we're probably doing. We're about there, about 180 sets a year. And then we do updates for people too, and then we have the repair work too of all of that.
Yeah, that's a whole other side of things, right?
Yeah, it's a whole other side of things. So, you know, it may look like we have all these people, but there's 9 of us, and we're very fortunate because every one of the 9 is exceptional. You know, they work really hard, they take pride in their work.
Sure. Sure.
And those guys police all of that. Like they decide if someone stays or not. They'll be like, it's not working out. So, but usually we don't, knock on wood, we don't have a lot of turnover. So,
right.
Yeah, so that helps too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a struggle for a lot of shops. And,
yeah. So a lot of these guys have been with us 15 years. So,
awesome.
Yeah, it's nice. And you know, they become family then too, because you know, you go through a lot of stuff with them over 15 years.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's nice. It is nice. Care for all of them for sure.
Yeah. Matt, again, awesome to see behind the scenes inside the shop here. You guys obviously make some quality products, and you know, you got a lot of people supporting you and using your product out there at the competition level. I did want to ask, you know, is there just anything else that you want the folks watching, you know, to know or understand?
Yeah, and it doesn't even make it about us. But what I think is important is that the customer have a qualified engine builder, not go to an engine builder on price. Go because of the quality of work they do. Yeah. That will save them so much money, and it makes my job so much easier. When I can work with a quality engine builder, we can give the engine builder exactly what he wants because he sees the parts every day. So if he says, Matt, I would rather do this because of this, well, then I'm going to do that because he knows, he sees the parts. Yeah. And so I think that's really, really important. Yeah. And then us just, you know, being consistent with our work, that's all. I think that those 2 things would be good.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, again, thank you so much for showing us around the shop, and we wish you luck once you get the next new building here put up.
Yeah,
hopefully sooner than later, right?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. It was really cool. I appreciate it very much.
Guys, we appreciate you watching this tour here of MBE. Make sure you're checking out their cylinder heads and manifold products. And as always, make sure you're checking out enginebuildermag.com for more engine content. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.